Did you know that in 2021, only 39% of Americans could name all three branches of the US government? Shocking, right? Understanding our constitutional rights is crucial, yet many of us don't fully grasp their significance. Imagine a world where you can't speak your mind, gather with friends, or practice your faith. It sounds like a dystopian novel, but without these essential freedoms, it could be our reality. Our constitutional rights are the backbone of democracy. They protect us from government overreach and ensure we live in a free society. But what do these rights really mean, and why do they matter? In this video, we'll dive into 6 essential freedoms. We'll explore the power of speech, the right to protest, religious expression, privacy, the role of the press, and fair legal treatment. Each chapter will reveal surprising facts, real-life stories, and the impact of these rights on our daily lives. Stay tuned to discover how these fundamental rights shape our world and why we must cherish and protect them. Let's get started. Chapter 1: The Power of Speech. Your voice in democracy. The freedom of speech is the bedrock of any democratic society. Without it, expressing opinions and challenging the status quo becomes nearly impossible. But why does this freedom matter so much? Consider this. In 1964, the US Supreme Court ruled in New York Times Company v. Sullivan that public debate should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. This case highlighted the importance of protecting even unpopular opinions. Imagine a world where dissent is silenced. It's a scary thought, right? Interestingly, freedom of speech isn't just about speaking out. It's also about listening. According to a Pew Research Center survey, 71% of Americans believe that social media platforms censor political views. This statistic shows how many people feel their voices are being suppressed in the digital age. Think about the civil rights movement. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. used their voices to demand change. King's "I Have a Dream" speech is a prime example of how powerful words can be. Without the freedom to speak, such movements would lose their momentum. Freedom of speech also extends to art and literature. Books like George Orwell's 1984 offer critical views of society and governance. Orwell once said, "If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear." This quote captures the essence of free speech, the right to challenge, provoke, and inspire. Social media has amplified our ability to exercise this freedom. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook give everyone a voice. But with great power comes great responsibility. It's crucial to use this freedom wisely, avoiding hate speech and misinformation. Educators play a key role in fostering this freedom. By encouraging open discussion in classrooms, teachers help students understand different perspectives. This practice cultivates critical thinking and empathy, essential skills for any democracy. Chapter 2: Assembly for Change. The right to protest. The right to protest is a cornerstone of democracy. It allows citizens to voice their concerns and demand change. Peaceful assembly has been a driving force behind many significant movements. Think back to the 1963 March on Washington. Over 250,000 people gathered to demand civil and economic rights for African Americans. This peaceful protest was instrumental in the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's a powerful reminder of how collective action can shape history. Did you know that the First Amendment protects the right to assemble peacefully? This right ensures that citizens can gather without fear of government retaliation. According to the ACLU, peaceful protest is a fundamental aspect of democratic engagement. In recent years, we've seen the power of protest on a global scale. The 2019-2020 Hong Kong protests, for example, drew international attention. Protesters demanded democratic reforms and greater autonomy from China. Their persistence highlighted the global importance of the right to assembly. Interestingly, a study by Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stephan found that non-violent resistance is more effective than violent insurgency. Their research showed that peaceful movements are twice as likely to achieve their goals. This finding underscores the power of peaceful assembly. The Women's March of 2017 is another notable example. Millions of people around the world marched to advocate for women's rights and social justice. This event demonstrated the widespread support for gender equality and energized the global feminist movement. Protesting isn't just about marching in the streets. It includes sit-ins, boycotts, and digital activism. The Montgomery bus boycott of 1955-1956, led by Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr., was a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. This boycott led to a Supreme Court ruling that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. In the digital age, social media has transformed how we organize and participate in protests. Hashtags like #Black Lives Matter and #MeToo have mobilized millions and brought attention to critical issues. These movements show the power of digital activism in modern protests. Chapter 3: Faith and Freedom. Protecting religious expression. Freedom of religion is a vital part of personal liberty. It allows people to follow their beliefs without fear. But why does this freedom matter so much? Take the First Amendment. It states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This clause ensures that everyone can practice their faith freely. Interestingly, a 2019 Pew Research Center study found that 84% of the world's population identifies with a religious group. This statistic highlights the global importance of religious freedom. Think about the Pilgrims. They fled England to escape religious persecution. Their journey to America was a quest for the freedom to worship as they chose. This historical example shows how deeply people value this right. Religious freedom isn't just about worship. It also includes the right to express and share beliefs. For example, in West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett, 1943, the Supreme Court ruled that students could not be forced to salute the flag or recite the Pledge of Allegiance. This decision protected the religious beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses. The U.S. is known for its religious diversity. According to the Pew Research Center, the U.S. is home to more than 230 distinct religious groups. This diversity is a testament to the country's commitment to religious freedom. Religious freedom also plays a crucial role in protecting minority beliefs. For instance, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993 ensures that interests in religious freedom are protected. This act was passed after the Supreme Court's decision in Employment Division versus Smith, 1990, which had restricted religious practices. Think of the Amish community. They live according to their religious beliefs, separate from modern society. The Supreme Court's ruling in Wisconsin versus Yoder, 1972, allowed Amish children to stop attending school after the 8th grade, respecting their religious traditions. Interestingly, religious freedom can foster social harmony. A study by the Barclays Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs found that countries with high religious freedom also tend to have lower levels of violent conflict. This finding underscores the peace-promoting aspect of religious freedom. However, religious freedom isn't without challenges. Discrimination and prejudice still exist. According to a 2017 Pew study, 42% of U.S. adults reported experiencing religious discrimination. This statistic shows that there's still work to be done. Chapter 4: A Private Realm. Safeguarding your privacy. The right to privacy is fundamental in maintaining personal freedom. It allows individuals to live without unwarranted intrusion. But why is this right so crucial? Consider the Fourth Amendment. It protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. This clause ensures that citizens can feel secure in their homes and personal spaces. Interestingly, the concept of privacy has evolved over time. In 1965, the Supreme Court case Griswold versus Connecticut recognized a right to marital privacy that barred state restrictions on contraceptive use. This ruling expanded the understanding of privacy rights. Did you know that 64% of Americans are concerned about government surveillance? This statistic from a Pew Research Center survey highlights the ongoing relevance of privacy in the digital age. Think about the landmark case Roe versus Wade, 1973. The Supreme Court ruled that a woman's right to choose an abortion fell within the right to privacy. This decision had a profound impact on personal autonomy and reproductive rights. In the age of the Internet, digital privacy has become a major concern. According to a 2020 report by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, 94% of Americans want more control over their personal information online. This data underscores the need for robust privacy protections in the digital realm. Interestingly, privacy laws vary significantly around the world. The European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is one of the most stringent privacy laws globally. It gives individuals extensive control over their personal data and imposes heavy fines for non-compliance. Privacy isn't just about keeping secrets. It's also about control over personal information. A study by the Pew Research Center found that 81% of Americans feel they have little or no control over the data companies collect about them. This statistic shows the widespread concern about data privacy. Think of Edward Snowden. His 2013 revelations about NSA surveillance programs sparked global debates about privacy and government overreach. Snowden's actions highlighted the delicate balance between national security and personal privacy. Chapter 5: Press Power. The media's role in democracy. The freedom of the press is a cornerstone of democracy. It ensures that citizens are informed and can hold their leaders accountable. But why does this freedom matter so much? Think about the Watergate scandal. In the 1970s, journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein exposed President Nixon's involvement in the Watergate break-in. Their reporting led to Nixon's resignation and showcased the power of investigative journalism. Interestingly, a Pew Research Center study found that 73% of Americans believe that the news media is essential to democracy. This statistic underscores the public's reliance on a free press for accurate information. Consider the First Amendment again. It prohibits laws that abridge the freedom of the press. This clause protects journalists from censorship and allows them to report the truth without fear of government retaliation. A free press isn't just about keeping the government in check. It also highlights social issues. For example, the Boston Globe Spotlight team uncovered widespread sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. Their reporting led to reforms and justice for many victims. However, the media faces significant challenges. According to Reporters Without Borders, the US ranks 45th out of 180 countries in the 2021 World Press Freedom Index. This ranking indicates that journalists in the US face obstacles like legal pressure and physical threats. Interestingly, local journalism is crucial but often overlooked. A 2018 study by the University of North Carolina found that over 1,300 US communities have lost local news coverage. This loss means fewer watchdogs to keep local governments accountable. Think about whistleblowers. They often rely on journalists to expose wrongdoing. Daniel Ellsberg's release of the Pentagon Papers in 1971 revealed government secrets about the Vietnam War. His actions, facilitated by the press, helped shift public opinion on the war. Digital media has transformed the landscape of journalism. According to the Pew Research Center, 86% of Americans get their news from digital devices. This shift presents new opportunities and challenges for the press in reaching and engaging audiences. Fake news and misinformation are growing concerns. A 2020 study by MIT found that false news spreads 6 times faster on Twitter than true stories. This statistic highlights the need for media literacy and reliable journalism. Chapter 6, Equal Justice, the right to fair legal treatment. The right to fair legal treatment is a fundamental aspect of justice. It ensures that everyone receives equal protection under the law. But why is this right so important? Consider the 14th Amendment. It guarantees equal protection and due process to all citizens. This amendment is the foundation for many landmark civil rights cases. Think about the case of Brown v. Board of Education, 1954. The Supreme Court ruled that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional. This decision was a major step toward equality and showed the importance of fair legal treatment. Interestingly, a 2020 report by the Equal Justice Initiative found that there are still significant racial disparities in the U.S. criminal justice system. For example, Black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white Americans. This statistic underscores the ongoing need for justice reform. The right to a fair trial is crucial. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to a speedy and public trial, an impartial jury, and legal representation. This ensures that defendants have a fair chance to defend themselves. Think about the Innocence Project. This organization works to exonerate wrongfully convicted individuals. Since 1989, DNA evidence has led to the exoneration of over 375 people in the US, many of whom were victims of unfair trials. Interestingly, the Supreme Court case Gideon v. Wainwright, 1963, established the right to free legal counsel for those who cannot afford it. This ruling emphasized that justice should not depend on one's ability to pay for a lawyer. Equal legal treatment also involves protecting the rights of marginalized groups. For example, the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, ensures that people with disabilities receive fair treatment and access to services. This law represents a significant step toward equality. Think about the role of public defenders. They provide legal representation to those who cannot afford private attorneys. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, about 80% of criminal defendants in the US rely on public defenders. This statistic shows the crucial role they play in the justice system. However, the justice system is not perfect. A 2018 study by the National Registry of Exonerations found that wrongful convictions are often due to misconduct by officials or flawed evidence. This finding highlights the need for continued vigilance and reform.